I cannot believe I'm saying this, but the hacker has finally been added to TDS. I never thought I'd see the day. This is one of the craziest towers we have ever seen, being able to convert enemies onto your side, clone towers, and much more. It even has 2 different upgrade paths. In this video, I'll be showcasing all of its stats, values, and uses, then give my personal ranking of how good it is. And trust me, this tower is insane. So hit that like button and subscribe, and let's get started. It costs 1,400 cash to place, meaning you can't get it on the first wave. It has a placement limit of 2. It attacks enemies with a continuous beam, and once they die, they turn into a hacked version, walking in the opposite direction. They basically turn into a friendly unit, dealing damage to whoever they hit based on their health. The enemy doesn't have to be killed by the hacker, and they simply have to die within its radius. Their health is apparently calculated with this equation, base health to the power of EV, which means exponential value. I have no clue what that is, and I can't find an explanation, so if you do know, please let me know in the comments. But it seems like the health is always significantly less than default, with the base hacker converting an enemy with 4.5k health down to only 156. At level 0, the hacker deals 4 damage, has a fire rate of 0.8, 11 range, and a DPS of 5. At level 1, for a total of 2,000 cash, his fire rate is decreased from 0.8 to 0.5, his range increases from 11 to 14, and his DPS goes from 5 to 8. It also unlocks a new passive ability, which gives you 7.5% more cash from enemies that die within the hacker's range. At level 2, for a total of 3,250 cash, its attack increases from 4 to 6, and his DPS went from 8 to 12. It also gains hidden detection and can attack with 2 beams instead of 1, doubling its total DPS up to 24. It also now slows enemies by 15% while attacking them, and converted enemies get more health. At level 3, for a total of 10,750 cash, its attack increases from 6 to 20, its range increases from 14 to 15, and its base DPS goes from 12 to 40. It also gains the tower hologram ability, which allows you to clone any tower of your choice, excluding other hackers. These towers have the exact same stats as their counterpart, but only last for 60 seconds and cost 90% of their total value to place. So the cloning ability is not free. This ability has a cooldown of 60 seconds. At level 4, for a total of 32,750 cash, its fire rate decreases from 0.5 to 0.3, its range increases from 15 to 16, and its base DPS goes from 40 to 66.66. The wire fraud ability is improved, now giving 12.5% more cash from enemies. The unit conversion is also buffed, giving them more health. It also slows enemies by 20% instead of 15%. Finally, the tower hologram now lasts for 75 seconds. It has 2 different paths it can choose from for its final upgrade, one being overclock and the other being rug pull. Overclock costs a total of 96,250 cash, and its damage decreases from 20 to 15, its fire rate decreases from 0.3 to 0.1, its range increases from 16 to 18.5, and its base DPS goes from 66.66 to 150. It now can attack 4 different enemies at once, giving it a total DPS of 600, and cloned enemies now have much higher health. As an example, the same 4.5k health enemy now has 1,940 health. That's a big difference. For another example, the Fallen Shield with 17,500 base HP converts into 4,867 health. The other path, Rug Pull, costs a total of 80,750 cash, and its damage decreases from 20 to 18, its range increases from 16 to 21, and its DPS goes from 66.66 to 60. It can now attack 3 different enemies at once, giving it a total DPS of 180. That's a lot less DPS than the other path, but this upgrade focuses more on its support. The slowness debuff is buffed from 20 to 25%, the wire fraud passive now gives 20% more cash from enemies, and most importantly, the clone ability only costs 65% of the target tower's cost, and the hologram lifetime is greatly increased from 75 to 120 seconds. With that said, that's all the stats involving this tower. Now let's take a look at how good it is and how you can properly use it. First, regarding its DPS, you really shouldn't be using this as an offensive tower. Sure, if you go for the top path, it can deal 600 DPS at max level if it's targeting 4 enemies, but because it costs a whopping 96,250 cash, that's only a value of 6.23 DPS per 1k spent. That may sound decent, but for a crowd control tower, it's not that crazy. It is especially disappointing against singular targets, only dealing 150 DPS for a value of 1.56, which is horrendous. So focus on using this tower for its fantastic supports, which it has a lot of. The top path excels at converting enemies, and if you're in a map with a big loop, like Crossroads, you'll rack up a solid amount of damage, especially in the later waves where a lot of strong enemies are appearing. The bottom path also has a lot more supporting factors. It has improved slowing, makes even more money, and clones are much cheaper and last way longer. While the slowness is a nice addition, that shouldn't be the main use of this tower, as there are other much more effective stalling options. The bonus money in cloning, however, can be very powerful. Plus 20% cash from enemies is crazy and will give you a ton of extra money to work with. I mean, apart from eco towers and wave bonus, you're basically just getting a flat 20% more cash the whole game as long as you kill the enemies within its range. This obviously isn't fully true since the hacker is so expensive that you can only really get it in the late game, but you will benefit a ton from having anyone in your squad bring this tower since this bonus applies to everyone. Apart from the DJ booth discount, this is the first tower that helps your teammates make more money, so I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes a must-have for squad strategies. But while the eco is super powerful, in the conversion can be a nice source of extra damage, that's not the most broken part of this tower. The clone ability is absolutely incredible. While you don't really want to use this ability in the early to mid game, since you're basically just wasting money in the long term, it is incredible in the late game once you've placed a max amount of towers and have a ton of cash laying around. Certain towers like the Gatling gun usually only have a placement limit of 1, so to compensate, it has a ridiculous single target DPS stat of 694.44. In return, it is the most expensive tower in the game with a total cost of 228,500 cash. But remember, at max level, the clone ability only costs 65% of the target tower's total price, so you can get a fully upgraded Gatling gun for only 148,525 cash, giving it a value of 4.68. Now, that's not crazy value, but you're saving nearly 80,000 cash. While playing solo, you can clone 2 Gatling guns at a time, giving you an extra 1,388.88 DPS, and that's without considering support towers. This gets even crazier when playing in squads. You'll be able to clone up to 8 Gatling guns in total, giving you an insane 5,555.52 more DPS. If you apply the commander's buff and DJ's buff, this climbs to an extraordinary 9,999.94 extra DPS. You are going to annihilate any boss in front of you. Okay, so apparently it's even more broken than this. I just found out that you can get multiple clones, as you can use the ability whenever the cooldown ends, and each clone lasts for 120 seconds. So for each hacker, you can get 2 clones at a time. That means with 8 hackers placed, you can clone up to 16 Gatling guns, giving you a flat out 11,111.04 DPS or 19,999.87 DPS with the commander and DJ. And this isn't even considering the mercenary base, which gives an additional 20% damage buff. With this ridiculous amount of extra DPS it can add, the conversion ability that passively deals a ton of damage, the huge cash buff it gives to everyone in game, and a slowdown upon attacking, this tower is insanely powerful. I'm gonna rank it as an easy S+. It has so much potential, and it is definitely up there with the commander and DJ. Although the commander and DJ are much more reliably amazing, while the hacker requires a lot more cash investment and mainly shines in the late game of more difficult game modes like hardcore mode or polluted wastelands. Also, the bottom path is definitely better, as the top path focuses on DPS, which isn't really this tower's strong point, but the better conversion on top path can sometimes come in handy. But with that, that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments below how you feel about this tower and whether or not you agree with my ranking. This is a very complicated tower, so whether or not it's actually as good as I thought, we're just gonna have to see. And if you enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to join the Blue Head Mafia. Also, if you want to talk to me, consider checking out my Discord. We got some pretty cool features, like a custom party finder bot that will automatically pair you up with other people who are trying to do the same strategy. There's a link to the server pinned in the comments. And finally, I want to give a huge shout out to these channel members for supporting my content. If you want to add me as a friend on Roblox or get early access to some of my videos, consider becoming a channel member. It helps me out a lot and I really appreciate it. Anyways, that's it for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.